Hey, everybody, welcome in another episode, A Little Bit of Life podcast, right here with your host, Little. We're in the true crime series. You guys are loving it, and we are loving you back for it. What's up, Paige? How's it going? Good to see you again.
I am good.
All right, you picked this month, and it's kind of crazy because we are recording Friday. It is today, July 19th, and the sentencing just happened yesterday. So when we talk about timing, oh man, did we time this one correct? So we are talking about Katelyn Markham. She went missing from Fairfield, Ohio in August of 2011. And man, when we talk about a case, this is a case. All right, why did we pick this one?
I picked this one because it is near and dear to my heart. Might get emotional during this one for sure. Because I went to college with this girl. She is an art student, was an art student. We went to the same college in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Art Institute. And I didn't personally know her, but I saw her every single day. She worked in the college bookstore. And I saw her, like I said, every single day. Our bookstore. So the college that I went to wasn't like your typical college. It was an art college, and it was in a office building. So when you walked into the building, the bookstore was like literally like you walked in, and the bookstore was off to the right. Like you could see it first thing. So she was in there every single day. So it didn't matter what time of day you walked in, she was there. Like she was kind of like almost like a face of the college birthday. So, yeah, this one's first.
It's really sad because she was young. She was kind of in that peak and prime of her life. She was engaged. She worked at a bridal store. She did all the things. And she was planning ahead for life. And I think that's so crucial to talk about when we're looking at true crime series is that most often the victims, they have a plan. They have kind of what they want their life to look like and set out. And this is so terrible because the person that reported her missing was her fiance. And we'll get into why he's so important, not only because of the fiance aspect, but why much later. His 911 report call was so weird. So weird.
Yeah, it was definitely strange from the get go, and everyone who listens to it can kind of fit for sure.
I'm going to put the audio in here right in during this clip because I want people to really take a listen to it. When you think of reporting someone missing, especially a loved one, it's your fiance, they're missing, you're in panic mode, you're reporting someone, you're like reaching out to the police department, you're crying out for help. The items that he chose to discuss in that 911 call are just so weird. And even like talking to police and law enforcement of, oh, there was a church event, there was a lot of, strange people, a lot of odd people. Those things like would not come up in our normal sense of reporting someone missing, right?
Yeah, the urgency of reporting someone missing. You don't describe an event that's happening up the street, in my opinion. It was called the Sacred Art Festival, and it's something that happens every year, I believe, in that part of town. And he was like, "There's odd people, and there's like weird people, and out of towners." And just like, okay, Ian, like you're already creating this quote unquote suspect pool right
Mm-hmm.
off the bat.
She was very well known in her community. Her family had just the most incredible things, obviously, to say about their daughter. Her coworker, she was a manager where she worked. She was always on time. She never called out. If something happened, she would have been that type of personality to call. She didn't show up to work, started to raise cause of concern. When they went to her townhouse, especially me being a dog mom and you being a dog mom, this set off red flags everywhere. They went into her townhouse to look for her. She was missing. Her purse was there. Her car keys were there. Her phone was there. Everything was there. As a female, we take everything with us. I'm pretty sure like we pack our entire house to go with us, even if it's just like to run to Target. But her dog, she always kept her dog downstairs with enough food, enough water in a bathroom. Her dog was found in her bedroom, locked behind closed doors. Had been there for quite a while, had defecated all over her room. So it was obvious something was not right. When I heard that as a dog mom, I'm like, that is a red flag. That is a trigger because we will always take care of our dogs usually before anything when it comes to making plans. She was not to be missing from that townhouse.
Yeah, yeah, that was definitely a red flag. And her car, like you said, her phone, her car keys, her purse, everything was there, including her car. Her car was even parked at that. So it's not like somebody came in and, threatened her to take her like in her vehicle. It was literally like she vanished off the face of the earth. There was no forced entry, like anything. It was bizarre.
It's creepy because we always hear stuff on the media of like people that just go missing. They just vanish into thin air, which we know like that's not possible. It doesn't happen. I think what surprised me is, I mean, obviously I'm from Arizona. I live in Texas. I didn't hear a lot about this case. And I think it's something where until obviously we get into it, till, some more evidence and clues and, kind of things started to kind of compile, then I feel like the media took attention on this. She went missing in 2011 in August. And even like the first story, so to speak, on like primetime TV wasn't until September of 2022 on Discovery ID. That's a big gap. I don't feel like the media really took focus on this because there was just so much that was missing. There weren't a lot of clues, there were a lot of dead ends. And I think, really, I think the media and just the power of the media of how we can solve true crime cases, I feel like they dropped the ball on this one.
Yeah. There wasn't a lot that was like made national about it in the area. Um, it was big news just because there's been other females in that area, like what they call the tri-state area, which is Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana. Um, all where all three of those kind of meet in that triangular area. There's been quite a few females that have gone missing from there around the same time frame. I want to say, God, don't I should have looked it up, but five or more maybe around the same within a few years. And so they thought that they could all be linked, especially once she was, I think she was like the third or fourth one at that time. So they started looking into them, seeing if they could all be connected. Um, but her fiance ended up being on Nancy Grace not long after she went missing. So it did reach Nancy Grace at one point. He didn't do like a live interview. He did a phone interview with her. And then Texas EquiSearch did get involved too. One and helping search for her when she first went missing.
I love Texas EquiSearch. I feel like when they come through, it's like the big boys showed up because we see so
Yeah,
many cases, even like when Vanessa Guillen went missing here in Texas and they brought out their entire force crew. It's incredible because I feel like they bring a different set of eyes to looking for someone that is missing, but they don't just cut off the community and the society from the search. They really love to involve everyone around. The more
yeah,
hands-on, the better. So I really love that in regards to, Texas. I think they're fantastic. So we're going to talk about how her body was found. Let's go into that. Her remains were found quite a few months later. I mean, this family had to wait over a year and a half, almost 2 years, just to even get any form of an answer. I can't even imagine waiting that long and thinking, maybe she's alive. Is she suffering? Is she being tortured? Is she in pain? Is she alive? Is she not alive? I can't imagine as a family having to just wonder that for that long.
yeah. So she was found. Her remains were found April 2013. So a year and a half later, um, in Indiana, about 35 miles away from where she lived at, in kind of what they call like a dump site almost for trash and garbage and that sort of thing. And a guy that was looking for metal, like copper and that sort of thing to take off to collect, for money and things like that, found her remains. He was just picking up trash, looking through things, and ended up picking up a bone. And he was like, "This is not an animal bone, it's a human bone." I think he said it was the jawbone, was what I remember. And then he kept looking and found the rest of her skull inside of her cargo bag.
So much is going around in speculation. There's a lot of podcasts that even touched on this during that year and a half because so many different, podcasts groups and hosts and stuff took notice. And there's a lot of speculation because some people wonder, was that bag obviously used over her head to suffocate her? And that is why. Do you think that that's what happened?
I don't know, honestly. There, like you said, there's been a lot of speculation, and I'm not 100% sure, just because of what we found out in the last year and a half. Um, with the new revelations and stuff that happened and new evidence that come forward. I don't know, but I do know with where the location of her body was found. Um, that's definitely not where she died. Her
Mhm.
body was definitely no. And she wasn't, and the thing is like, she wasn't even attempted to be buried. She was just dumped there.
Yeah. March 2023, John Carter, the one that we talked about right in the opening, was her fiance. When I look at him, I'm like, oh, he's kind of creepy. I don't know. I feel like, there's something about these individuals that are the suspects that there's just a little bit of creepiness behind those eyeballs. I don't know what it is. But he was arrested and he had his sentencing yesterday. So let's talk about the actual arrest part, the evidence that came out and everything like that. How did you feel?
The second he was arrested, I saw it on Facebook and I called my mom and I was in full tears. Um, like hyperventilating, could not breathe. My mom couldn't even understand what I was saying. I was like, they've arrested it, and I'm crying. She's like, arrested who? Like, she could not understand what I was saying. And I was like, they arrested Katelyn's fiance. And she was like, are you effing serious? And I was like, yeah, finally. Like, it's finally happening. So many people in the community and so many people that have followed this case from the very beginning knew. Everyone knew. He was the only logical suspect there was.
Mhm.
And it just made sense. I went to her memorial service after they found her remains. I want to say it was, I would have to look, but like mid fall of 20 or 2013. And I walked it was at her high school auditorium. I walked past him walking into the auditorium. And I will always say I'm very empathic, feel things, I feel people's emotions. I pick up on intuition stuff very easily. I have never walked past someone and felt such a cold, eerie feeling come over me in my entire life. And I have never felt anything like that again to this day. And it was just, it was weird. So weird. And when I left there, I called my mom and I said, he did it. I know that he did it.
It's creepy. It's creepy to know you've been in a room with a killer. Like you've been right there with somebody. I think it's
Yeah.
you gotta be a special kind of something to know. I mean, we've seen this so many times with, the suspects and the victims that they're going to the funeral service. They're going to the memorial services. They are being a part of the family and interacting. We've seen this with so many different families. I mean, the big one was, Scott Peterson. That was one that obviously went and, was um, found guilty for his wife and for her unaliving, as well as their unborn son, Connor. But you see them still trying to fit in with society and fit in with family. And they just try and like almost like disappear and like melt into their surroundings. But it's so incredibly just bone chilling that they still go to these memorial services and funeral services, knowing like you are
Oh, yeah.
mourning the loss of this person and you are the reason that they are no longer with this family. Like, I don't, you have to be a special kind of mental to do that.
Yeah. He was hugging her family. He got up and he spoke. And I mean, at funerals and memorial services, people get up and they talk about the good memories that they had with people and how this person affected them in positive ways and things like that.
Mhm.
Not at all what he did. Not at all. He got up there and he was like, Katelyn and I were getting ready to, once she graduated college, because she was going to graduate that year, how we were going to move to Colorado and one of my friends was going to move with us. And this friend was going to live with us, but him and Katelyn wouldn't have gotten along very well. So eventually he would have moved out because they wouldn't have gotten along. And then it would have just been Caitlin and I. And I was like, what fuck are you talking about? Like, we don't get
Mhm.
stuff in thoughts like that at a memorial service. Like, it was so bizarre. And I was like looking around, like, is anyone else hearing what I'm, and like, I remember there was these three people, and I don't know who these people were, sitting in front of me, and they're just like sobbing at him talking. And I thought, am I only like crazy one here, like hearing this bullshit? Because I just kept sitting there thinking, like, what? It was, I've never heard anything like that at a memorial service in my life, or a funeral or anything. It was just weird. So weird.
None of her social media obviously was used, activated, nothing like that. Her bank card, no banks, nothing was ever, shifted, moved, touched. Cell phone, no activity, no pings, no nothing. It was like you said, it's like she literally just vanished. Um, Very creepy to think, because I don't think he ever thought he was going to get caught. I think as time went on and the months went by and then it turned into a year, I think he just thought like, yeah, I got away with it. It is what it is. And I honestly still in the depths of my soul feel that he got away with something because his sentencing was yesterday. He had a max sentencing, which he received. When we hear max sentencing, you think, oh yeah, like he murdered, his fiance. This is it. 3 years. So what do you got yesterday? 3 years.
Yeah,
Wild.
very, very good. It's infuriating, honestly, because he was given a plea deal. Um, he got misdemeanor manslaughter because his attorneys apparently, from what I've been told, asked for a plea deal, and it was accepted. And because he was finally going to admit guilt, it was accepted. And so he was given misdemeanor manslaughter because some sort of misdemeanor assault resulted in her death, is the way that it was worded. So he got misdemeanor assault, and the max sentence on a misdemeanor assault is 3 years.
It's
So
wild.
he
It's
got away with it for 13 years, and now he's only going to face 3 years in jail. And let's be honest, if he has no criminal history whatsoever. If he does good behavior, there's a possibility he could get out sooner than that. And more than
Mhm.
likely, he probably will.
But yet, I feel like this is the huge issue with our justice system is we have those that, I mean, maybe we'll do an episode about this, months later, but, we have those that have been in from the 80s and the 70s, even the 90s for drug possession or like drug trafficking. We're seeing this start to come out. They have life in prison I mean, there's a female in there right now. She has life in prison. She went in at 22 years old for drug trafficking and possession. No criminal record or nothing. She got life in prison. She has no more appeals left. And she is like, I'm going to sit here forever. But then we have a situation like this. Well, I gave my alibi and I gave some evidence in return for a plea deal. So I get 3 years. Sorry, you deserve to sit in there and rot. Technically, this is the way I think. I don't think that our taxpayers' money should allow you to sit in there and watch TV and have 3 meals a day and work out and play dominoes and do all the things. I'm sorry. I think we need to go back
Well,
to the way the world used to be of, if you kill somebody, sorry, your turn to go. What you did, you get back in return. That's how I feel.
an eye for an eye. I completely agree. I think it should be the same thing. It's ridiculous that he's getting 3 years. He gets to watch TV, he gets 3 meals a day, he gets commissary, he can watch the tablet. He has the opportunity to purchase a fucking TV
Mm-hmm.
and watch it in his own cell. Just as you and I can go to Walmart and purchase a TV and
Mm-hmm.
watch in our bedroom. He can do the same thing sitting in jail. What fuckery is that? I don't get it. And the thing is I don't know if you have this in your notes and stuff, but he tried to apparently dismember her.
Mm-hmm.
And you get 3 years. And the thing is, her body was found 10 minutes from his family farm in Indiana. It was the fastest route from her home in Fairfield to his family farm in Indiana. Make it make sense? The
So
ball
for
was
those,
dropped 13 years ago. And here, they
yeah,
fucked up.
for those that are listening and they may have not heard of this story and they're not familiar and they're catching up with us right now as they're listening, with all the evidence and everything that's out there, because it took a long time. I mean, even her dad had to like push investigators for new eyes, a
Mm-hmm.
new set of eyes, and new ears. Even the prosecution office was like, okay, now we're going to investigate. We're taking this story on. We're going to take this case. What do you think, with all the evidence and all the time that passed, what do you think happened to her? Not his story, because that's a whole other ballgame. What do you think happened to her?
I really don't know. I see from what I've heard from her friends, family, those sort of things. Apparently, he she smokes marijuana here and there, very seldomly, not very often. He was becoming a more frequent drug user. Again, this is just what has been said from her friends and family. So I'm not, this is a fact. But he was becoming a more frequent drug user. She did not like it. She was looking to break up with him. She did not want to move to Colorado with him. He was persistent. And to me, it sounds like the if I can't have you, nobody can type of thing. And he got angry and almost like the Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie situation. Like he just lost his temper and he killed her. And then he freaked the fuck out and didn't know what to do with her. He tried to dismember her when that didn't work. Um, in my honest opinion, I think his mom came in and tried to help cover it up because of a lot of different reasons. He's just been way too close to the vest with his mom since all of this happened. She has been very quiet in all of this. So I think that she doesn't want to flip up and say something that will incriminate her, make things worse, all of that. So I think that definitely she would involve some way, shape, or form. Again, just like Brian Laundrie's parent. So I think that a lot of the evidence was found at her home as far as diary entries, journal entries, certain things written on the walls in his bedroom at his mom's house, closets, uh, things like that. So I think that's what happened.
We always see the crime shows, and there's so many different documentaries on stuff on Hulu now and Netflix and Discovery ID. They're everywhere. And it's very interesting. There was one talking about just the other day about how the victim will always leave their voice behind, and it's in the form of evidence. There's always something that you can uncover, that you can find, that you can read. I think it's very interesting, especially with this case. And like you said, with the Gabby Petito, families tend to help their children, but then again, I just there's something more to that family. There's something that's has not been truly uncovered. Like you said, he admitted to trying to do all these things and dismember her, and yet here we are. You get 3 years. I also think the family should be responsible. I'm sorry. I think the parents should, I mean,
No.
obviously have some form of involvement, because obviously the puzzle pieces are fitting together in that direction for me on this case.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing that's very interesting that a lot of people don't tend to find out about this case unless you really know it is he ended up marrying and having a child with her best friend. Uh, who does that? Her best friend. And they got together very quickly after the fact. They had a child together and they've been engaged for a long time, but they didn't get married until after he was arrested so that she could not testify against him.
That's just
That
gross. That's just gross behavior.
it's gross and it's suspicious. That to me also indicates that she knows more. Because if she didn't, why did you marry him so quickly? If you don't know more why did you marry so quickly? Because if I didn't know anything, I wouldn't jump the gun to marry somebody that I had been engaged to and been with for almost 13 years.
Especially if they were being convicted of murder. I wouldn't be like, oh, let's race to the altar. I'd be like, oh, let's go back the opposite direction and then we'll just wait it out and see what happens. Yeah, there's it's another level of some hidden
There's a
secrets
level
for
of
sure.
knowledge there that's very suspicious. Well,
Do you think maybe she was in on it or she just knows more than
I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people say that they don't think there's any way, shape, or form that she could have actually harmed Katelyn, but you never know people. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't know Katelyn. I didn't know her circle. I didn't know any of these people. So I really don't know. But the knowledge after the fact, I feel like it's there. Has to be.
well, and we always hear these with cases of like, oh, well, this person's so sweet, they could never do something like that. That's what we hear every single time about the suspect. And then they're sitting in
Exactly.
court going, oh, I actually did it when their asses are up against the
Exactly.
wall. Like, you can
The quiet,
never,
the quiet, timid ones that always end up as the murderers. Like, yeah.
it's creepy, creepy, creepy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that we were able to cover this episode. I really appreciate you coming on and talking, especially because, like you said, this case is really personal to you. You went to the same school, and you were literally right there, elbow to elbow with the killer. And it's so disturbing and sad, especially for the family, because, John Carter goes in, he sentence for 3 years. He's out in 3 years, probably less, like you said. But the family doesn't get to have Caitlin back in 3 years. It is forever. The choices that he made is forever. So I'm really disgusted with the justice system on this one, especially because again, family is there's no justice. Their daughter is always going to be gone forever. But especially when it comes to this, 3 years, far and few between on this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really sad. And I know his family right now is in the process of trying to pass a law called Caitlin's Law. To I'm not 100% sure. I just saw the post about it. I'm not sure what all it actually entails, what law they're trying to pass, but I think it has something to do with statute of limitation on something involved for the kind sort of thing. So I would encourage people to check that out, look into it, and see what it's.